Hey everyone, and welcome to the weekly roundup for Eve Echoes for the week ending the 2nd of December 2023. In these videos we just go through the week's news for Eve Echoes and round it off with the developer Q&A when we happen to have one, and we are in luck this week. We have the developer Q&A, which was released about 24 hours prior to recording this video. So some of you might have already read it, I myself haven't, so any reactions that we get from it later in the video will be genuine. So anyway, before I go into the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with what's going on in the game. And yeah, let's get on with the video, shall we? So first and foremost, we have Ashiv's live streams that he's doing throughout Christmas, once a week, every week. These live streams have been noticed by NetEase. I don't know to what extent, but they are going to be keeping an eye on the performance of these live streams. If you want to go and take part, he has one coming up on the 9th of December, the 16th of December and the 22nd of December. I would tell you what the actual UTC times are that they are being streamed, but everybody seems to be getting a little bit confused with the UTC math, so the best thing to do here is subscribe to his channel, turn on notifications and wait for that live stream notification. Alternatively, head over to his Discord server and you'll be receiving a notification whenever he goes live there. In these live streams, he does a nanocore competition, so you do all the fancy colouring in with your ship, and then you take part to win some good prizes. He might not be an official content creator, so he can't hand out Duo Omegas just yet, but he does hand out some pretty expensive ships, typically faction battleships or T10 ships that he's got going spare. He doesn't hold back, so his rewards are still worth receiving. And of course, we have this other screenshot whereby he just confirms that the Eve Echoes developers are following all 4 of his streams in December. Now, moving on, we have had the patch notes in the game for this week. There's not all that much. We've got our typical market optimizations and some bug fixes, as well as new effects for the Starbeat Nanocore. But the important item here is the adjustments to the Interstellar Bazaar. You'll notice in our in-game mail every day throughout the Interstellar Bazaar, we've been getting these lucky box items that contain a few little miscellaneous items. Whenever we opened them, we had a chance of receiving certain rare items, such as the Mark IV weapons rigs. Unfortunately, a great number of people have been creating alpha accounts with the explicit intent of just farming these, because so many people were actually getting these. You could set up an alpha account to get a T4 rig for free, essentially, is what people were aiming for. So this kind of bad behaviour on the player's part has resulted in offending accounts being banned. Those are the free accounts. You can't really ban the original accounts if you can't link them up properly. And adjustments being made to the Interstellar Bazaar to prevent such abuse going forwards. Me personally, I thought I'd gotten quite lucky when I got a few of these rigs, and I was like, oh sweet, I got a few billion ISK out of this. Looked at the market a couple of days later and they were selling for about 200 mil, and I'm like, oh, it's not worth it anymore, is it? So I've just got to hold on to them. But hey ho, that's probably the case for a lot of people throughout this. So yeah, that's all there was for patch notes. Plex prices. Plex prices are continuing to increase once again. They did stall for about a week, but now they're going back up again. We're currently sitting on about 8 billion ISK. So they're going up a bit slower, but they're still going up. So again, if you can afford to Plex yourself up, let's say you're a free-to-play player and you want to get your Duo Omega in for free. If you have the ISK, spend it now before it gets more expensive, because every week when the cap on how much it can be sold for increases, the actual selling price increases in line with that cap. It's just the way things are. If that cap wasn't there, it'd be astronomically high right now. In fact, I'm kind of sitting on a figure of 46 million ISK that I wouldn't be surprised if that was its true value. There's a little bit of maths that goes into that, but its true value is a lot more than 8 million ISK. We can say that much with confidence. So anyway, that rounds off what we've got for news. It's not been a particularly busy week on that front, so that leaves us with the developer Q&A. which this week appears to have been answered by NetEase's Paulin. I'm hoping these aren't a bunch of low effort answers or the equivalent of chatbot answers, but we're about to find out, aren't we? So let's start with question number 1. Would it be possible to generate a purchase order for mods from saved fittings lists the same as you can for manufacturing? If I apply a fit and there are mods missing, it takes me to a market page with the missing mods to purchase. Would expedite refitting lost mods after the insurance claim? Let me just get a quick drink before I carry on. In this cold weather, it's always good to have a nice warm drink to hand. So the answer is good idea. We'll definitely add it to our optimization to-do list for future updates. Personally, an update like that, it's not necessary, but I can see the appeal of it. It would certainly come in handy, especially for the people who don't want to be doing market trading and so on. You're not taking the market interface away from them. You're not taking that gameplay element away from them. You're just streamlining it so they can get into the good part of the game for them faster. Yeah, I'm all for that, especially if it happens to be a rather easy thing for NetEase to do. Now, let's move on to question number 2. Chat in the game is very helpful. However, it is sometimes very difficult to discern who is talking to who, or if referring to anyone. Any possibility that we can have @player name and linkable to character data? In this case, proper comms will be given. Imagine seeing a doc request message and you are in another part of nullsec. Yeah, I think we've all seen that before, and we're all just sat there scratching our heads going, okay, doc, yeah, who's docking where? I can see the appeal here. I mean, you can, when you're sending a message in the game as it is, already link character names. That's already achievable. But yeah, it's not very quick and fluid, as it were, especially with older devices. I don't know how it is with newer devices, but with older devices like mine, there is a good lag between pressing the location button and then moving to the character button. Yeah, let's not ramble too much though. Thanks for your suggestion. Right now, there are some technical limitations with the chat channels in the game. We'll just discuss the feasibility with our coders to see if we can realise this. Yeah, that choice of wording just then, technical difficulties, kind of reminds me of how chat used to be and how bad it could get if they started messing with it again. To give some of you newer players a bit of insight here, chat used to be incredibly bugged. You could log in and there'd be, let's say you had a very, very brief internet connectivity difficulty. Maybe you're on an older device, maybe you were going from Wi-Fi to mobile data as you leave the house. If you had even a brief disconnect, you would be permanently disconnected from all chat channels until you re-logged in. And of course, sometimes you don't even notice that you've had this brief disconnect. You could be just laying in bed doing some mining, have a disconnect whilst you're, just naturally blinking, blink it and miss it event. And then that's it, you see no more chat. And all of a sudden, a bunch of people jump on top of you and start shooting you, and you're like, why is it not called out in Intel? And as you're posting it in Intel, you realise that you can't even see what you're typing in Intel. And then you realise why they snuck up on you. Because chat was broken. So, yeah, I'd like to see chat improve, but I know how badly it could go if they start tinkering with it. So I'm kind of a bit of a mixed standing there. But the suggestion itself is a good suggestion. I'm not going to discredit that. But let's move on to the next question, shall we? And I need to remember if it's JPEGs that automatically zoom in on these, just to make things a little bit easier. Because as you can see at the moment, I have to zoom in and out, in and out. Still getting used to this format, and this is something I've not really properly fixed, even on the older format. Anyway, question number 3. With metals changing, some nanocores still being... Oh, okay, yeah, my dyslexia's kicking in, by the way, guys. With metals changing and some nanocores still being rare, are you going to allow the exchange of some of the rare nanocores anytime soon? For example, the blue and white porcelain core and other similar cores that aren't available yet for exchange. With metals changing, that's what threw me off at the beginning there and really kicked my dyslexia to the side. With metals changing, I don't know what they're referring to there, but yeah, it would be nice to be able to exchange some of the rarer nanocores. The answer is thanks for asking. We understand your needs, but currently we are working on regular Concord Pass nanocores exchange. Rare cores exchange may require a longer wait, please bear with us. I can see the reasoning there. They want to keep the common nanocores to be more easily exchangeable, to keep the player base happy, but the premium stuff that we pay for to maintain that forced exclusivity, they're limiting the exchanges that we can perform with them. It's completely expected of businesses, especially when it's their paid items. They need to be a bit more restrictive on how many things we can do for free with these paid items. So no complaints from me there. This is how businesses make money. If they didn't make money, we wouldn't have a game to play, and I wouldn't have a game to do videos about. So yeah, it is what it is. So question number 4. With dwindling participants in faction war games, can you allow the participants to have a 5 versus 5 match in case there are 10 players who queue on for more than 10 minutes? I really love to pew pew ships, and this is what I like faction war games for. Recent queuing takes forever to get a match, and sometimes queuing for 2 hours with no match. Hope you can do something about it, thanks. Yeah, one sec. This reminds me of when I tried to do a video for faction war games, because I noticed of course that it's very quiet. There are most likely some players out there that aren't engaging with it because they don't know what it is, and a lot of players like to watch a tutorial before they engage with this content. So I figured, you know what, yeah, I'll do a faction war games tutorial. It won't get all that many views, but it will be there, it will be helpful for someone. After about 3/4 of an hour queuing to get into faction war games, I ran out of time, and I've not gone back to it since to do that video. Yeah, the queue times are kind of awful, and that is because of the fact that there are so very few people engaging with the content, and yeah, that is the root cause of it. So few people are engaging with the content. Now, why are they engaging with not engaging with the content? They're not engaging with the content because it's very repetitive. Once you go in, it's always the same map, it's always the same scenario, and you need a total of 10 people for it to start. No fewer, no higher. Exactly 10 people. No, not 10 people, it's 10 versus 10, isn't it? Okay, if it's 10 versus 10, then we're talking 20 people. But anyway, it's locked at one size, and considering the demand for it isn't all that high at the moment, we really should be seeing, at the very least, a smaller faction war games. Maybe a 3 versus 3. If they released a 3 versus 3 scenario that had all of the same existing coding in it, just 3 versus 3, just change those player limits, the queue times would be fixed, in a sense. I know there are other ways of fixing the queue times, like putting NPCs in there, but that's a lot more programming. And let's be honest, we don't want to be doing it against NPCs because we might as well just be ratting. But yeah, I think for the time being, the 2 best things that they can do here are reduce the player count, maybe have a second faction war games with a lower player count, and then maybe throw in some more scenarios in the coming months. Maybe have it so that every week we rotate through a set list of scenarios just to keep things a little bit different. But anyway, those are my thoughts on faction war games. I could easily do a rambly video about it. In fact, I probably already have in the past, come to think of it. But anyway, let's stop rambling and head to the final answer. So thanks for the suggestion. We noticed the situation in faction war games, and we have some improvement plans, including making rewards in the loyalty point store better and tweaking the matching and queuing system. These changes will be released in the future in a gameplay optimization version. We appreciate your patience and support. Unfortunately, tweaking the matching and queuing system wouldn't address the concerns that there's not enough people queuing up in the first place. That said, if we could see how many people in the queue, and if we could see we were only waiting for one more player, we'd be a lot more likely to stick around just that one more minute to see if that one more person arrives. Yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, that rounds up the weekly roundup for this week. Thanks again for listening, everyone. If you haven't noticed already, my voice is already starting to go as I get further and further into the video. You know, a little bit of gunk building up at the back. But anyway, let's try not to be too gross about it. Thanks again for watching, everyone. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Maybe like or comment, whatever your thing is on YouTube. And until the next video, guys, see you and fly casual in New Eden.